to the PDSVISION Wednesday webinar. I am Michael Wimberly, and we will be going through the final installment of our Windchill MPMLink Part 3. We're now going to go through the process plan. All right, so for this webinar, of course, we're going to go through and talk about the creation of the process plan. So we're going to do brief introductions, go over the process plan overview and the associated items, associated objects for the process plan, and then of course do a live demo and a Q&A at the end. I am Michael Wimberly. I've been with PDSVISION now for over 11 years. I've worked with PTC products for over 25 years, as well as been inside of the PTC channel for over 20 years. Also a certified trainer and implementer of both Creo and Windchill. PDSVISION at a glance, we are headquartered in Stockholm and we operate in 12 different countries. We are a trusted advisor for software solutions and services in the digital transformation with over 2,500 years, of course, combined of technical expertise within our company. One of PTC's top partners worldwide, and of course, rapidly growing partner of ANSYS. We also have additional applications through MyPDS that will, of course, enhance your investment into the different PTC products. One of the ones that, of course, we've done recently is the MyPDS Search. We also have another one that we talked about, which is dedupe, which is removing duplications. And we have another one coming up. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But look at our upcoming webinars and we will definitely show you what's coming up. We also have another one coming up on Codebeamer, so that should be a good one as well. All right, digital transformation journey and challenges. Once again, we have 5 major areas that we focus on: products, production, processes, infrastructure, and data. With the products, of course, we want to, as we move forward, we want to begin to make our products smarter. So not just having the actual data, but having intelligence built into them by going in and using the IoT enhancements to go in and actually have codes and everything that can be read directly from the actual model or the actual product in the field directly to an IoT board, where we can continue to monitor things, fulfill regulations, once again, making sure that the information that we're collecting is what's needed. And we always want to build a digital twin. Digital twin is simply a digital version of your actual physical product that has that intelligence built into it as well, so that we can go through and see what it's going to do, how it's going to operate before we even put it into the field, which is the next piece of it, the production. So we want to decrease manufacturing downtime. We can do that by using that digital twin and the IoT functionality by being able to read the meters, have warnings pop up when we want to. Once again, that predicting the failures that may happen. Also capturing the knowledge of our aging workforce. We have individuals that, of course, are beginning to retire, and they've been in the industry for decades. And we want to capture that information. So we want to be able to do that as well. We can do that through some of our digital tools as well. And then optimize production through artificial intelligence. We want to remove data silos. That's a big issue for a lot of companies, is that what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. So we don't go through and share data. I get a copy of it and that's my version of it. If it updates, we don't have that connection. So what we want to do is, of course, in the process, remove those silos that we have, so that we have one source of all of our data moving forward, so everybody's looking at everything real time and not a local copy of everything. Smart connected systems, once again, the integrations with inside of Windchill, Windchill being a PLM system, not just a PDM system, but a PLM system with a lot of additional applications that can be used to grow your PLM. So those smart connected systems can be other things from PTC or some other applications that connect to PTC applications, once again, either bidirectionally or one way. Either we feed data from Windchill out or we receive data in, or once again, both. And then, of course, service and operations are important as well. Infrastructure, reduce non-value IT costs. A lot of people are going in and using those next two things, the cloud and SaaS, software as a service. So a lot of people are moving forward. So instead of having physical hardware, they're doing things in the cloud. So that's a big part of reducing non-value costs for IT, as well as some remote administration stuff. That's what we also offer as well. So if you don't have a Windchill administrator, we can be your administrator for you instead of sending somebody to a class to learn Windchill and then basically have to grow with Windchill versus we can go through and maintain your system with all the expertise that we have as well. And then, of course, your data is an important area as well. Big data, create value out of data, AI, data lakes, analysis, data and cybersecurity, and create new business model. As we move forward, we want to begin to take advantage of the information that we have, data reuse. And because technology is moving forward, those last two, the third bullet item is very important, data and cybersecurity, making sure that the data that you have is secure. So that's a very, very important piece of it, which a lot of people are using two-factor authentication to do that, or once again, just increasing the security that they have in their systems. And then, of course, as we transition, from a lot of manual things to using IoT and AI and things like that, then we want to go in and grow with that and develop new business models as well. All right, so just a quick review of the things that we've gone over. So we talked about the first one was just creating a BOM. So we converted in our first part one, we converted an eBOM, an engineering BOM, to an mBOM. The part two was now taking the mBOM and now building it out. So what we're looking at here is an mBOM. So the left side is our eBOM, that's what we started with. And then we transitioned that eBOM to the right, the yellow structure, to an actual mBOM. So we broke it down so that it was for manufacturing. Once again, you can create bill of materials that are updated for manufacturing, controlling things that engineering don't use, such as glue, tape, paint, for chipped areas, tools, once again, assembly, repair, whatever we need. Also may require reorganization of the eBOM to better represent how things are being manufactured. Once again, in an engineering environment, we're building it for engineers. So we're going in and creating it so it is the complete product. But when it gets to manufacturing, that complete product may not be done in one location or within one area of our building or just by us. It may have vendors, whatever it may be. So we can go through and now break that down into manufacturing focused areas. So this is done in plant one, this is done in plant two, this is we receive from a vendor. So we can go through and break down that bill of material as necessary. Other things to take in consideration, I mentioned before, is once again, manufacturing resources. How are we going to go through and actually build that out? Are we going to do it in our location? Do we have vendors that we work with? Once again, any inventory that we have, where is that actually going to be stored as well? And how do we maintain that and understand what inventory we have? Now, other things that we talked about were some of the resources that can be created with our mBOM, such as plant locations. So we can go through and designate, okay, we have a plant. In that plant, we have different areas. So plant locations, we can have resource groups. A resource group, as you can see here. So the blue is the plant 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have the resource group, which is sector East 1, skills group, or a warehouse, whatever, however we want to go through and define that. But we're now going and saying, okay, in sector East 1, we now have these work centers. In this skill group, we have a welder and an assembly. And then in this warehouse, we have tooling 1 and tooling 2. So the yellow is the resource group. On the next 4 all deal with the different resource types. So now we're looking at a work center, we're looking at tooling, we're looking at process material, we're looking at a skill set. So all those things we can now go through and specify in this plant, in this area of the plant, we have this capability. This machine is here, this skill set is here, or in plant 2, we have this skill set, this capability, so we can go through and now specify all of that. And then, of course, we also talked about compatibility links. So not everything is open. We want to make sure that the right people are doing the right things. So when we go back and we look at plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at sector East 1, we have this work center B. So this work center B is able to do what? So we can go through and have a welder associated with it. We can have this tooling associated with it. And it is not recommended to have tool 2. But even more important is that work center B does not have drilling capability. So if we're looking at going in and doing operation, which we'll talk about in just a moment, doing an operation for that requires drilling capability, work center B is not valid for that. And we will actually get a warning that tells us that is not applicable for this, if that's what we need. So these are also important. So when we go through and build up our different resources, we can go through and specify what the resources are and what they can and cannot do. All right, now as we move forward from the mBOM into now looking at the process plans, there's a few things that are very important now moving forward. One of the things is the actual operation. What are we trying to do? So this is example, once again, operation A, and inside of there, we have documents that can be associated with it. We have illustrations that can be associated with it, parts, the plant that is actually going to be, the manufacturing resource, manufacturing capability, as well as the work center that is going to be done on. So it is very important that as we go through and define the process plan, we understand what the different operations require. So as you can see, we have process plan 1, and then we have operation A. What operation is going to actually occur in A? Then we have operation B. What is operation B and what do we need for that? Operation C, so on and so forth. So we can go through and now build out the actual process. So now we're really digging into, we have everything in hand. Now where do we go from here? How do we now begin to assemble it, for lack of a better way to say it? Or if we want to step back even further, we can go into the manufacturing. So where is this part going to be machined? When it's finished machining, where does it go after that? Who cleans it up? Once it's cleaned up, where does it go? Does it go to the actual assembly floor, or does it go to, the storage? Because we're going into stockpiling things that we need. So the operation is very important as to, once again, what is being done. And then in there, we want to understand the sequence of things. So we have the different operations. Are these the appropriate operations that need to be done in that particular sequence? Those are fine. Or is there a specific sequence? So here we have sequence 1, and we're saying we have to do F before G and before H. So that is the order that those things have to be done. So as we go through and build things up, we now go through, we build up from the bottom up. So we have A, B, C, D, and E. And then from there, we can go into F, and then G and H. And then from there goes to K, and once again, then returns back to D. So we can go through and specify that these things happen in between other ones. So once again, understanding where things fit in the process. So it's very important to understand, once again, the operation and the actual sequence of the operations. And then one of the things that is definitely required is, once we have these operations, well, what actual models are associated with those? So when we go through and we say operation A, well, what part or assembly are we creating or manipulating in operation A? We now allocate that to operation A. So even before that, let me back up one other step from there. Even before that, when we go into the process plan, what assembly is this process plan associated with? Then from there, we now bring in the different pieces. So from that assembly, this subassembly is now being governed by operation A. This subassembly is being governed by operation B, and then this subassembly is being governed by operation C. So, and then we go through and finish with the final product from there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a quick demonstration. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and just simply start a process plan. So before I even do that, last time we once again went in and started and created some of the manufacturing specific items. So in between then and now, I've created some additional things. So we still have the resources that we defined. I've added a few more. So we have our plants, we have, different groupings, we have our our skill sets, our actual tooling, and then down here we have the actual work centers up here, and then we can go into each one of these and see in this plant, here are the items that are associated with that. So we can see at this plant, these are the items that are there. Same thing here, we go into plant B, we can see the items that are associated with plant B. So we can see each one of those, what capability is available in each one of those plants. We can also go in and define tooling models. So some of the things that we've also defined is a workstation. So we have a workstation that we've gone through and created that represents where things are going to be done. So as we go through that process, not only are we defining the object that it's going to be worked on, but we're also defining where it's going to be worked on. So we can also go through and define those models as well. So we can actually go through and now create the relationship between your manufacturing tool to an actual WT part that references a CAD model. So we can go in and create that link there as well. So we have multiple tooling models that are here. This is a combination of CAD and parts, but just looking at the parts, we can go through and filter and see everything here. So it has the entire assemblies that are listed. Let's go and see if I can filter. So there's the one workstation here. We also have, there's a base for one of the things that we're going to be going and using in just a moment. But we can see all of that information and whatever else we want to go through and look at. So once again, it is using all the viewables for everything that we have in here. So when we go through and define our actual tools, they're going to be referencing these objects here. So as I said, we started at one level, defining multiple things, and then we came through and began to define additional objects here. So resources as well as tooling models that we want to go through and use. So once again, a lot of what we need to do is going to be pre-work. So before we get to the process plan is the last piece. It's actually one of the easier things that we can do. But we want to make sure that we capture everything that is necessary. So we want to make sure we have our mBOM. We want to make sure that we have our locations. We want to go through and make sure we have our tools, our skill sets, all those things that are necessary. So when we start building up our process plan, we're just plugging them in. Here's process one, it is associated with this, go. So we can go in and do that. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and begin a new process plan. And we can specify, is this process plan for production, maintenance, quality, or repair? So when you do get things back in, here's a process plan to go through and repair the different areas of it. Or is this maintenance? Okay, it's reached its end of cycle. We need to go through and now go through and define the maintenance that needs to be done before we send it back in. So it's reached this, 10,000 hours, and now let's go back in and basically give it a fresher. All right, so this one we're going to say seat assembly. And make this manufacturing. Everything that we're doing is under manufacturing. Say okay. Yes. Both. So I'm sorry, there's a question that came in, process plans, categories, drop-down menu is out of the box. Yes, it is out of the box, but I think it can be updated to have other terminology inside of it as well that fits what you're doing. All right, where did my process plan go? Seat assembly plan. All right, so there we have it. Once again, really, really simple. We just start here. Now what we want to do is we want to go through and now build up the process. What are we going to do to assemble this seat? So inside of here, we can go in and just simply right click inside of here, editing, and we can now go through and insert operations. So we have the process plan. Now we have the operation. Now we know, like for my operation, I know there's a total of 4 operations that I'm going to go through and define. So I can put that in here. If we don't know, then we just start one at a time. We just insert them one at a time. Pretty straightforward. And then just continue to move them around. Now for these, we can go in and rename them. So once again, under editing, rename operations, and I'm going to go through, this is seatback completion. This one is going to be seat. Skills are lacking. Completion. And just the overall symbol. All right, so those are all now renamed. And now when we want to go through and begin to update them, we just begin to update them. So one of the first things that we want to kind of look at is, okay, what assembly are we associating with this particular process plan? So we can come over here and there's multiple things. We can go in and say, open up the tree picker. So what we're doing here is now searching for the information. So what we're going to search for is for that seat assembly. So there is a seat assembly that is a demo seat assembly. So it's showing all CAD files. If I wanted to go through and reduce that application, right now it's showing everything. If I wanted to reduce that, so it is just going in and showing our manufacturing parts. Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted. I wanted parts. There we go. All right, so in here, there is the seat demo, and you can see that there's actually 2 of them. There is a manufacturing and a design version of it. I am going to select on the manufacturing. Now, to go through and now associate this, I just come over and I copy and I paste. Copy. Oh, it is there. All right, it just didn't look like it pasted. All right, now, once again, if we're not sure of what this looks like, we can go in and do a load. And what it does, it now goes through and shows the actual assembly that we're looking at. Great. So now what we want to do is now begin to break down where each part of that assembly fits in this structure here. So we have this back, and I'm going to select on it and I'm going to copy it. And that back goes here. So now that part is there. And as you notice, as I'm going in and I'm updating this, my image is updating. So what it's doing is showing me as I begin to allocate the, the files underneath this assembly to the actual process plan, it's showing me what's left. So I'm going to come over here to this seat assembly, copy it. I'm going to paste it here. And now once again, you can see there. So now I'm going to take the left and the right. I'm going to copy both of those and put those underneath here. And the only thing left is this bottom. Now, if this was a larger assembly, of course, it'd be more complex. We may expand more. We may break it down a little bit more. But one of the things that we can always do as we're going in and working is check on the status of everything. So I can go through and make sure or see what's left to be allocated. So when I do that, we can see there's this column over here for allocation status, and it's letting me know that 100% of this has been allocated, 100% of that has been allocated. So if I had broken down this assembly and began to move pieces of it, then it would show me the percentage of the pieces that have been moved. So the only thing left now is this bottle, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put this in the last one. So now, and it's telling me there, you can see that it's out of date. Once I do that, it shows me that everything has been allocated, and I can also tell because my image at the bottom is now empty. All right, so the next thing I want to go in and do is now begin to build out these actual processes. So I have the overall process plan, I have the first operation. Now, this first operation that I want to go in and do is going to specify the machine that this is coming from. So go back to my search, clear this out. And the thing that I want to look at is there's actually an injection molded machine that this actually is coming from. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to type in injection, name, and we can see that there's injection molding. And then down here, there's a machine, there's a small and a large. There's also an injection molded machine group that they both are in, and then an actual WT part. So what I'm actually doing now is looking at the tool itself. So I'm going to take this injection molded machine, the large one, copy it. I'm going to paste it into this top level. Now, this may not be where this goes as far as your application. I'm doing this because this application could just be the assembling of it and not necessarily pulling it off of the actual injection molded machine. Or that may be a step before this. So my process plan may have another step before the seat back completion. That is, once again, creating the part. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and say paste this into there. Now, what it wants to verify is that any settings that are associated with that injection molded machine, that those transition over. And I'm going to say yes. Also, because there is a specific skill set that is required for this tool, it's also going in and adding that requirement. So that's what it's talking about here. So basically, we're saying that this certification is mandatory in order to operate this machine that we're now adding. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now you can see that it not only added the injection molded machine, but it also went in and added that certification. So because of the way we set that up, those two things are interconnected. You can't have this machine without this particular skill set. All right. And then from here, we also want to go through and add some additional objects as well, which is the actual processes that we wanted to go through. So I'm going to clear this out again. And come up here. And I want to use Oh, clean. I need to look up. What I spelled it. All right. So what we also have here is just additional objects. So we have a group that we've created, which is called part cleaning. So I'm going to go ahead and say load that. When I load that, what we will see are the different applications or processes that are nested underneath this. So we have part cleaning, and under part cleaning, we have deburr operation, we have a regular clean operation, we have a paint, we have a seal. If there's anything else that could be part of part cleaning, we can add this to this group. So now when we go through and begin to specify the different things to how we want to clean it, we can then either pick all of these objects or just the options that we need. For example, with this deburr, underneath deburr, here are the two steps. Remove attachment posts as well as sand surfaces. When we come over here and we look at the clean, we're doing a high pressure air cleaning and then a water solvent cleaning. So we can just go through each one of those. Okay, these are all valid as is. So what I can do is exactly what I've done before. I want all 4 of these copy to be underneath here. So now all 4 of those processes are now underneath this seat back. So we can continue on underneath the next one, and I'm going to come over here and, and add the assembly station that is necessary for this one. So same thing here. Go back to my search, clear this out, and say assembly. I guess I should narrow that down and do station instead. All right, so here is an assembly station that I've gone through and created. Once again, just to confirm that that's what I need, I will load it. And now we'll go through and show me what that actual looks like. So if that's what I want, great. I can now copy that and paste it in here. Yes, and then once again, there is a requirement for that, and we're going to add that as well. So as we begin to build these things up, we can now go through and once again, just build up what this process is going to look like. Now, I have one that is a little bit more complete than this. I'm just kind of showing you the overall view of it, because I know one of the things that we are also interested in is not only the process itself, but the finished process plan. So when we're looking here and we go into, go back over visualization for this, once again, we can see each one of those sections designated based on how we went in and defined it. So allocated those things. This is now included in here. So one of the things that we want to be able to do is when we have that process plan, and I can even show you what this looks like currently as a process plan. So underneath here, work instructions, go ahead and create that. So this is currently what it looks like. So we have the first section, which is going in here, seat back completion. And then underneath there, it has the injection mold machine. And then down underneath here, the seat assembly plan. For that, we're now going to go through and define that. As we continue forward, it goes through and shows you each one of those applications. So this process plan will then go through and now, once again, be printable for everyone to use. I'll get into this in a little more detail. Once again, it's just a preview of where it is now. Because one of the things that we want to make sure that we're denoting is also, once again, the images that come with it. So for here, I'm going to go ahead and that for now. Select this, and I'm going to come over here and select playback options. For this. And I want to go in and create a new representation for this part of my assembly. And I'm just going to call it seat back. Oops. There's that. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and open this up. There it is. I think I went too fast. All right, so there we have it. There is the actual seat back. That's the viewable for it currently. If I did nothing, this is what we would see when we go through and actually now create the process plan. But for this one, let's do a little markup, and I'm just going to add just some free notes inside of here. Actually, I'll do one with a leader. I'm going to point here. I'm going to say firm is leader degree. Yeah, there, degree. I didn't spell that right. And then we can come over here and change the font size, make it larger, change the area around it if we want, or we can just have it just as a note, change the color of text as well as change the color of the background. And there we have it. And then if there's additional notes that we want, just something simple. And then at that point, in order for it to propagate back, I need to come over here and say save annotation set, save it as, and I'm going to call this seat notes. I don't know if you all can hear that, but somebody has decided to cut their grass. And you may hear a lawnmower in the background. That is not me, obviously. All right, so there, now that is done for that particular one. And I can continue on to do the same thing for the other ones. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do one for this one. Go ahead and create this and just call this one assembly. Submit publishing job. All right, it's been submitted. Now I'm going to go and edit it. There it is. I don't need this. So now I can come over here and once again expand all this out and see all the different pieces. And maybe that's all I want to do. Is I want to go through and take this and I want to move it. I just want to create a quick exploded view of everything. This one. Move that down just a bit. And then if I want to call them out, once again, I can make a quick little note. Later, cushion. rod this way is this one is there we are. Now once again, file, save annotation set, and we'll call this seat. All right. So now once again, when I now come over, when I come over and I do my work instructions, there's those views. There it is down there. Okay. Now, what I want you to notice, I should say, is that when we come over here and we have this this seat back, from here, if you notice, these begin to indent. What this is now showing is it's now beginning to show these items. So it's going to show each one of those and their process. So this is the deburr. This is removing the attached posts. This is sanding the surfaces. This is going in and doing the cleaning, high pressure cleaning, and then water solvent cleaning. So all those things that we went in and defined. Now, if you notice, even with this one real quickly, is that it shows a paint, and then it also shows a paint underneath it. What that is doing is it's going in and showing this, and then the process underneath it. So what we could have done is we could have, instead of selecting this, we could have just selected these processes. So I could have gotten rid of this and just said remove attachments and sand surfaces. But what it's doing is now these go together. So this deburr process is removing the attachment posts, and sanding surfaces. So from here, we just continue to build up that assembly. So as I continue on, you can see once again the information. Once it gets to the last item, which is applying the sealant, you can see that it bumps back out, and there's my next image. Now, what you also see, and I'm just kind of want to emphasize this, is that there's a lot of information that can be added here, a whole lot. So keep in mind, the more you put in, the more you can get out. So even with this, when I go back up to the top, when I was looking at the actual, removement of attachment or the attachment post, I put some time in there. So now people kind of have an understanding of what the time would take to go in and do this. Sanding surfaces. Setup time is 30 seconds. Processing time, 6 minutes. Labor time, 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's 9 minutes. Sorry. And then continue on. So as I said, the more you put in, the more you get out. The more useful information that you have in the system, the more useful information you can get out of the system. So this document can truly become as powerful as you want it to become. And yeah, I created something very simple here, but I'm sure you've seen other, work instructions or anything that may have a lot more detail. It may even be a drawing that is associated here. Whatever it is that you want to go through and show that shows the appropriate process, highlighting areas, So there's a lot that can be done in each one of these sections to go through and truly emphasize that when I go through and I sand surfaces, I can go through and highlight, here's the surfaces that we want to sand. When I go through and I do the painting, okay, these are the surfaces that we want to paint. I can go through when I'm defining, this high pressure air cleaner. That's here. That actually has an air compressor associated with that process. So as I said, you can go as deep into this as you want to. So here's a process that I'm using. Here's the workstation that I need. Here's the air compressor that I need. When I get into my water solvent, I don't have anything actually in here for this, but I can go through and find, some cleaner and now say that this is the specific cleaner that I want to use for this. And because we're in Windchill, we can also go through and set up alternates that if this isn't available, use this. This is an adequate replacement. Or once again, if we have multiple types of cleaners, we can go through and specify what cleaners not to use because they're too abrasive. So we can go through and really go through and lock down how deep we want this to go. But as I said, really a lot of your work is going to be going in and setting up the information. What resources are you going to use? What are you really trying to pinpoint? Are we doing plant layouts? So we have a plant. We have section A, section B, section C. Section A has a 3-axis mill machine. Section 2 has a 5-axis lathe. Section 3 has a rapid prototyping machine. Whatever we want to go through and set up, and then specify, how big they are, because that is one of the things that you can go through and specify is, the actual size of everything. What is this overall dimensions? What is this work area volume? How big of a part can it hold? So you can go through and actually define that. So when you're going in and now specifying, yes, I want it in this plant and we need to use a 5-axis machine, are we using the smaller one or are we using the bigger one? So we can really go through and specify that information so that it's very useful information as we're moving forward. So that's why I say the more information you put in, the more information is going to be available for you inside of here. The rules, those are important as well. When you're going through and specifying, here's this part that's made out of this, you cannot use this to go through and machine it. You cannot use this. It should not go to this plant. Whatever it is, the rules that you want to go through and set up for each one of those. So as I said, the more information you put in, the more useful and the more like your current process it's going to be. And even better, because a lot of this stuff is automatic. These are the rules that you're putting in. Remember we talked in the overheads when we talked about, having some of our senior manufacturing people leaving, they're retiring. This is where we can capture that knowledge. They can tell you off the top of their head, you don't want to do that. You don't want to use this. This shouldn't go here. This can't be made on that machine. It's not accurate enough. Those are the rules that we put in here. When we go through and specify this part can only be made on this machine. This can only use this lubrication. This can only be, stored at this location. We tried to store it in this plant. The temperature was too hot and things began to warp. So it only can be stored in this particular plant. Or it's too big to go here. Whatever. So there's a lot of that knowledge that can be captured just inside of here by going in and stating or creating those different rules that are necessary, which actually brings me to what I was referring to here, or what I was going to be referring to here. It's just to put the information in there. When we go in and we have the assembling of the handle grip, how long does it take to set it up? How long does it take to do it? What's the overall processing time once you're done? to actually process it into the system. Coming down here, surface finish information. How do we want to go through and control that? As I was just talking about a moment ago, we have this, work center. What's the overall volume? What's the cost of it? That could be a big piece of it as well, labor costs. So all that information can be put into our systems, and once again, make that report as useful as possible. And it's something that we can use as our quote unquote the gospel for this particular assembly. Any additional questions on anything with that? Like I said, a lot of it is just plug and play after that. Once you set up everything in the system, you simply go into your process plan and you begin to set that thing up. Plug and play, plug and play. All right. If there are no questions, I truly thank you for your time once again. If you want to reach out to me, you can by sending me an email at michael.wimberly@pdsvision.com. You can also find us on pdsvision.com, our website, as well as YouTube. You can also go through and find us in YouTube as well to see any previous videos that we have. You can also go through our website and find some of the more recent videos that we've done. Actually, when we go through and send out information, I'll send you a link to how to go through and see those videos. But once again, if you want to get in touch with me, you have any questions after this, michael.wimberly@pdsvision.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next webinar.